If you make or collect dolls, you'll notice this time of year, ballerina dolls seem to be everywhere. Now, I love a ballerina doll, but why do they all have to be so pink? Ballet can be dark, mysterious, and maybe even a little spooky. So this week, I'm making a creepy cute Gothic ballerina. I was planning on making a black dress with lots of tulle for this one, but I don't seem to have any black tulle left, so I'm going for burgundy instead. I have some 2mm burgundy satin ribbon which will go well with the tulle. That will be perfect for the crisscross laces on some ballet slippers. I've got some other bits of burgundy lace and velvet ribbon that I can use. I was undecided on which acrylic yarn to use for the hair, but I felt like the darker shade would go better with the fabrics. I've stuffed all the pieces with some polyester fibre and done most of the bead jointing. The arms will be attached later. I'm shading around the eye area with Derwent Chromaflow pencils, building up layers of colour to get a deep shadow. It can be tempting to reach for the black and grey pencils when you're shading a dark area like this, but sometimes blending other colours together can give a much more intense effect. The shades I'm using here are Midnight Purple and Coffee Bean, along with some black. I'm building up layers of pigment and blending as I go. The colours are blending together into a nice dark reddish shade. I really like that. This will need a coat of fixative spray, so while that dries, I'll start work on the dress. I'm making a simple bodice from black cotton with some burgundy velvet ribbon around the top. I don't want stitches showing on the ribbon, so I'm gluing it in place with some super thick tacky glue. This glue works best when it's heat bonded on heavier fabrics, so I'll give it a quick press with the quilting iron to make sure it stays in place. I've machine sewn a couple of darts in the side so it fits to the shape of the waist, and I'm just going to ladder stitch it up the back so it'll be permanently fixed to the doll. I've got some dark smoky grey buttons for the eyes. These are stitched right through to the back of the head with some strong upholstery thread. Now, because I used some high pigment colours for the shading, I've noticed that a bit of the colour has transferred onto the white thread. It's not a huge problem, but I'll have to take this button off and give the shading another couple of coats of fixative spray. I'll work on something else while that's drying and come back to the face later. I usually paint the shoes on before I attach the legs, but I got a bit carried away when I was bead jointing this one and totally forgot. Hyperfocus can be both a blessing and a curse. I'm going to have to be extra careful not to get splodges of paint on the rest of the doll. I'm just painting some little ballet slippers, so it should be fine. This is black acrylic paint with a little bit of white mixed in to make it more opaque, and some fabric medium to make it more flexible and help it sit better on the fabric. I'll dry that off with the hairdryer, then I'll come back to those later and add some ribbons. Now I'll have another go at sewing those buttons on. The shading has fixed much better now, so hopefully there won't be any colour transfer on the thread. Perfect. I'm giving her some Gothic eyeliner in Derwent's Line Maker ink pens. She just needs a few little swirls of ink and a simple curve for the mouth. Then I'll add a little coloured pencil to the lower lip and blend it with a burnisher pencil. I've got a couple of dark red shades of tulle for the tutu. I'm using the no-sew method for this, so I've cut the tulle into strips and I'm knotting them round a length of ribbon. You can play around with different widths of tulle to get different effects. I like to keep the strips fairly narrow and not too together. Doing this with tulle makes a really effective tutu, but you can do this with other fabrics. Mixing strips of thin cotton and lace can create a really cool raggedy skirt. This is a little bit longer than I want it, so I'm going to trim it with scissors, then I'll stitch it to the doll. If you're enjoying watching this little one come together, don't forget to hit the like button and let me know. This helps a video get seen by more people. You can also subscribe if you like, so you don't miss the next one. Now it's time to attach the arms. I use a long doll needle for this and some Gutterman top stitch thread. I start at the back, under the bodice, then come out at the shoulder, through the bead, then through to the other shoulder. I stitch through each joint twice, then fasten it off under the bodice back where I started. The last time I tried stitching ribbons to doll shoes was many years ago when I was making much larger dolls. These are tiny, so it's quite fiddly. I want to get a nice even crisscross pattern with the laces. That's looking pretty good. I'll give it a little dab of tacky glue to hold it in place. I don't want to risk those coming unravelled. I think this guipure lace will work really well as a Gothic choker. It can be a bit tricky getting the placement right, so I've pinned it in place and glued it at the back. This super thick tacky glue is awesome for fabrics and loads of other things. I'll leave a link to it in the description. For the hair, I'm using some super chunky acrylic yarn in deep red. As usual, I'm needle felting the strands in with the Clover pen style tool and 3 38 gauge needles. She's going to have an updo, so I don't need to cover the full head. I'll felt it all around the hairline, then unravel it. Once I've pulled out all those loose fibres, I can use some of the excess to cover over the middle section. All the outer strands can be pulled up and tied on top of the head, and there won't be any of that fabric showing through anywhere. I've named her Carlotta Ghost Dance. I didn't cover the whole jointing process in this video, but if you'd like to see how I put all those pieces together, there's a video here that goes into much more detail. Go watch that one now, and I'll see you next time. Bye!